Hello there, Riverland. Let's start with a question. Maybe you can, telepathically send me the answer. If you're a little down in the dumps, if you're feeling melancholy, what should you do? Should you listen to melancholy music, that complements how you're feeling? Or should you listen to music that, I don't know, might buck you back up? I suppose we're all different. And anyway, let's just get going here. I haven't made you guys a video in about a week and a half, longer. So I feel like I'm a little rusty, and I'll begin by telling you some things I told my students yesterday live after not seeing them for 9 days. I didn't see my live students, my live Zoomers, as I call them. Somebody asked me yesterday, Sweet Katie Sumter, who I think subscribes to this channel, wonderful student with a beautiful little girl named Alice. She asked me how my break was. Like, it was terrible. I'll tell you about it when class starts. And class started, and I told a little bit about it. I think I really spilled it to Honors Lit. I kind of bare my soul there. I actually bare my soul everywhere. But what I needed to tell her is that for some reason I've been really running into suffering lately. People I love, people in my parish, neighbors. And I had this fantastic plan over break. I was going to get a bunch of stuff done for my parish. And I did. I got some second graders to a retreat for their first communion, and I got my 19 juniors through a retreat to get them ready for their confirmation. Everybody's hiding in their houses still around here, a lot of them anyway. And, people got to step up and keep the world going. And then I was just going to buckle down and get totally caught up on schoolwork. And I think my plan for that was about the middle of the break, and then, of course, my phone fluttered. And it was news that it was my sister calling. And it was news that my sweet mother, 91 years old, had a couple of strokes last week. I think because of that darn vaccine, but if I go up that road any further, I'll be telling you what to do about that. We'll all decide personally. Good news is she can walk a little bit now, and her vision has partway come back. And none of us are promised the next 5 minutes. So anyway, I am here to give about 85%, like yesterday. And it's kind of the time of trials. I got Billy Collins on my mind as we get going here. Billy Collins, the very famous poet that I've hosted 3 times. I know I've brought his name up more than once. He turns 80 this week, and his wife, much younger wife, we finally married after a long engagement, Susanna Gilman, contacted me, and at her behest, I made a little 1-minute present, a little video for him. She's going around the country and getting people that know Billy and love him well to make that's going to be one of his presents, a little montage, a pastiche of little 1-minute films. And I pranked him a little bit because we are friends. And so he'll kick things off for us today. I got a little poem queued up here, and I don't know if I've ever read it to any of my college students. I'd like to say some research project kinds of things. You've got that assignment up now in D2L, and like I said in D2L, I don't know how we're going to do it with my Riverlanders and with my Long Prairie Grey Eagle students as far as presentations, but let's burn that bridge when we come to it. What you really should be working on right now is getting a topic, because you got about 6 weeks, and I've been talking about it long enough, I think. And let's just get on this and get help. I've heard from a few of you. Heidi, I heard from you. I heard from Adam Wilder, who had a couple questions, and got a really good topic. Julius Caesar and stuff he did in Germania, as Tacitus, the historian, called it. And Heidi's working on so a couple others of you have contacted me, and I'm here for you, ready to help. So I want to talk about the parlor business a little bit. I also want to talk about topical specificity, and I'll probably talk about the rubric today, real briefly. Rubrics, as I'll probably say in a few minutes, exist not for teachers but for students. And I only use them on big projects, and I don't need them to arrive at the grade for a paper. It's not necessary. But students like them. I know that, and I'll kind of give you an informal one that, and I'll tell you ahead of time right now. The perfect rubric is one that can never be found. Your teachers try and try and try, but and I tried, and I'll show you the effort in a minute here. Got a couple of things to say about Othello. I got to dial down, not all the way back, but dial down the reading assignments as we move through the second half of our semester, which starts this week. And it's going to go fast. And I still want us to take a look at one more major tragic hero. And for the first time ever in Comp 2, we're going to be looking at Shakespeare, Othello. And I've got a way to help you get through that. If you're sitting there thinking, jeepers, cripes, I can't read Shakespeare, you can. Just know ahead of time that understanding every line is not the point. And I hope this sounds like about a half-hour lesson for you. Billy Collins was raised Roman Catholic like me, and like just about every friend I got. They've left the church and become unaffiliated, and that's Billy's story. And this is from, it's just got the most fantastic title, Horoscopes for the Dead. Like they would need horoscopes. Billy Collins, poem. Oh, I love it because it's about school, and it's about a country that I happen to love, called America. Billy Collins, poem on the 300th anniversary of the Trinity School. When a man asked me to look back 300 years over the hilly landscape of America, I must have picked up the wrong pen, the one that had no poem lurking in its vein of ink. So I walked in circles for days like a blind horse, harnessed to an oaken pole that turns a millstone, a sight we might have seen so many years ago. Barley being ground near a swift and silent mill race, which led to other sights of smoky battlefields, the frames of houses, then a tall steeple by a thoroughfare, which I climbed, and then could see even more. A nation being built of logs and words, ideas, and wooden nails. The greatest of my grandfathers was not visible, and the house I live in was not a pasture yet. Only a wooded hillside, strewn with glacial rock. Yet I could see Dutch men and women on an island without bridges. And I saw, winding through the scene, a line of people, students it would seem, from their satchels and jackets, 300 of them, one for every school year, walking single file over the decades into the present. I thought of the pages they had filled with letters and numbers, the lifted bits of chalk, the changing flag limp in the corner, the hand raised, the learning eye brightening to a spark in the iris. And then I heard their singing, all those voices joined in a fluid chorus, and all those years, synchronized by the harmony of their anthem. History, now a single chord, and time, its key and measure. One of the most highly literate and talented poets this country has ever produced, Billy Collins. And he won't see this video, but I will say, happy birthday, Billy. Happy birthday to you. He's and by the way, if you have any interest in him, and you're on Facebook, which is probably dead to you at this point, just do like a search for Billy on Facebook. He has a poetry show every day that he and Susanna host out of his Florida mansion. He can't stop being Billy Collins, and I wouldn't want to stop being Billy Collins if it were me either. So, I think what I'm seeing right now. Adam Wilder dialed it in really fast. Adam's taken his third class from me, and from the get-go, he knew what he was doing. He started out, I think, Adam, correct me if I'm wrong somewhere in the chat, as if there's chat. I think he had the idea that he was going to study Julius Caesar's very thick book that I tried to read and failed when I was 18 years old, called The Civil War. And very quickly, he made it a lot more specific than that. And dealing with sort of the power mongering and the real estate grabbing that Caesar was all about in what we now call Germany. So that's getting there. That topic's really getting there. Out of Brainerd, I'm getting these emails of students just kind of saying some strange things. Like I had a student that just wants to do guard dogs, like attack dogs. And okay, that's not heroic. That's not within the theme. It's not within the circle. And I had another student, several actually, who tried to set up very large general topics. Like a young man named Eston thought he would write about heroic qualities in Greek tragic heroes. I'm like, that's pretty big. And on top of that, it's going to set you up for some list making and maybe some island hopping. And you don't want to do that. The entire integrity of the project depends upon your ability to control the specificity of the topic. And forgive me for being redundant, but some people aren't hearing me. And I think a lot of that is just Zoom, right? People appear to be there, but they kind of aren't. And that scares me a little bit. And it's one of the reasons why I'd be really excited to get back to my classroom in August. A quick little summary of a research deal. There was a guy in the 80s named Gordon Brazile that got really interested in Minneapolis, Roseville actually, which is a suburb northeast of Minneapolis. He got really interested in the idea of the relationship between topical specificity and the quality of the final product. And what he did was he set up this study with a couple thousand students, and he, over a couple year period, he gave students 3 types of topics. One topic was just maximal topical specificity. So the kid picked it up and got like a 1,000-word sheet explaining what to do and how to do it. He had another group that just got absolutely minimal topical specificity. These are the kinds of topics I saw in the 80s, 70s actually, high school. Bob Granum, my high school teacher, would do that. He'd come in and the whole essay would be like about 1 word or 1 sentence. And then he had another group that was given essay assignments that had moderate topical specificity, enough to get the kid going, but not enough to overwhelm them. Well, the worst papers came from that first group with maximal topical specificity. The kids felt like the project was already done. And he found out too that only the really bright kids that could think divergently and creatively could do well with the minimal topical specificity. It's a little bear porridge thing, right? Moderation in all things is the deal. And your mission is to come up with I'm just going to keep saying it. The more specific your deal is, your topic, the more specific your question is, it's simply everything. Now I think I'll throw into the, I think we call it the storyline when you're editing a video. This rubric, a couple of comments first. When I was young, I was a really hard grader. I don't know what I was up to. I was just trying to make a name for myself. And students used to tease me about that. They made, long ago at my old high school, they made a VHS tape of like a simulation, and it was called Johnson's Grading Method. And they had the stairway marked like BC, 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 and an A was in the middle. And some kid went at the top of the stairs and pretended to just heave, 20 essays in the air. And the joke was, that's how I graded papers, how they landed on the stairs. Excuse me. And I remember another year, students at a party that kind of went wrong. I took a dartboard, and around the outside of the dartboard, it was like BC, BC, BC all the way, and then A was in the middle, right, the bullseye. And they imagined that that's how I graded papers. It seemed that random to them. Right now, it's a lot of B's and B minuses, sort of gift wrapped with a bow on, because you guys are young, you're inexperienced writers. I don't expect you to be great at this. But I think it's probably one of the only reasons my classes tend to fill. I'm easy. And I will read whatever you create with goodwill. But check this out. This is a kind of rubric. What a teacher does is you take a particular project and you break it down into primary traits, and then you rank them. And I was once so stupid, this thing once ran from 1 to 10. How idiotic is that? What's a 5? What's a 6? What's a 7? Well, how about fair, good, excellent? Okay? And real quick, let's just go through it. Fulfillment of intention is easy. Just as long as the paper does what it sets out to do, you're going to be fine. And yet, that is an interest of mine. Well, I wonder, to what extent can young people control and write to an aim? That's the simple way to put it. You write for a particular purpose. It's the rhetorical question every time. When someone's doing something, what is it that they're doing? And why are they doing it? I'm all about motive. And some of these are easier and some of these are going to be harder. Development means development. I could have put length there. Did you make it to 8 pages, double spaced, with the 3 font choices that I gave you? Did you crawl onto the 8th page? Try, okay? Try to get there. Coherence is a third item here. That's sort of a paragraph thing. I hate to get all composition-y on you, but mostly in professional writing, we very rarely see topical sentences. Like if you pick up like New Yorker Magazine or Atlantic, 70-80% of those sentences, just ballparking it, most of them, are not going to have topical sentences. But in a type paper of a couple of pages, 4 pages, 6, 7, 8, that's still pretty small. Most paragraphs are going to have topical sentences. And each sentence within that paragraph has got to sort of, bark and woof underneath the thematic umbrella. That's how that's how coherence works. And I study that moderately. And I let students know, if you switch topics in the middle of a paragraph, wait a minute, you gotta kind of hold it together. It can also be a coherence issue at the level of the paper. Write the whole text. And style's an easy one. Just write the final project in your human voices. This is no time to try to muster some kind of fake academic voice, because you won't possess that yet. And I'm not trying to turn you into academics. Why would you want a dead-end job in the humanities like I have? So just be you. Use the first person pronoun I, okay? Go ahead. It's fine. I want you to be part of the paper. I don't want to pick up papers and it happens. I'll just turn page after page after page, and the kid is just headed out writing, and I'm like, where's the student? I've lost the human element. That's why I wasn't crazy about the idea of the dog paper. I'm interested in human beings, or I wouldn't be in this line of work. Mechanics is all the stuff I don't even care about very much. Spelling, well, you have to kind of care about spelling, punctuation, grammar, usage, but I'm a literature person. So just put on the grammar check, okay? I'm not going to be correcting these in that way. This is the second year now in 34 years where I'm not collecting physically the research papers, kicking it old school with one of my favorite pens, the Faber-Castell Uniball Micropoint Deluxe 5mm. I'm not. I'm just going to be sort of talking over the top of your paper while I read it and march through the rubric, and I'll leave probably audio recordings. We lost, what was that? We lost, well, the way we used to do it, something died in December, some app form. It'll come to me after I cut this video. But I, try to be grammatical. Errors can get in the way of your meaning, and it's not, you want a nice, clean, professional-looking paper. Use of primary text, that's a big deal to me. I should probably change this a little bit. Primary sources are fantastic, okay? So, like I got a student who's going after St. Paul. I told him St. Paul is too big a subject. You gotta really crank that down even further specificity-wise. But that student, at least, is going to have he's going to have the writing of St. Paul. Somebody just talked to me about the idea of an escaped slave named Ona. I can't remember her second name. Wow, did that escaped slave write anything? Got another paper coming at me from a hero, about a hero that started the Red Cross long ago. Did that person write anything? Any personal letters? Right? We already talked about how important primary sources are, and I'm not done talking about how absolutely important it is to have high quality sources from JSTOR. Please don't do personal blogs. Please not askabout.com, that kind of stuff. It just, if the source doesn't have a name, I'm repeating myself again, it doesn't mean anything, right? There's got to be a person there that appears to be some kind of authority, an authority with the ethos of someone who's authoritative and can write about something in a quality way. Works cited page, we're not going to go after that too much today. Even an unmedicated ADHD teacher like me can get pretty OCD in a second about MLA stuff. Try to be consistent. Just try to be consistent. And this is not a day where I'm going to take you to OWL. I told my students yesterday, if you went to Google, I think it's still the case, if you went to Google and entered the word OWL, O-W-L, you might think you'd be taken to pages about one of my favorite birds, and they're starting to hoot in my peat bog, by the way, because it's spring, along with the cardinals during the day. No, you'd actually likely be taken to OWL, the online writing lab for Purdue University, which for decades now has been sort of the one-stop shop big place for writers of research projects, either MLA, Chicago Manual Style, or APA, the American Psychiatric Association. If you go on and get a 4-year degree, you're going to be going there again and again and again. Every possible question that you would have about how to document a paper, how to create a works cited page in any documentation style, it's there waiting for you. And you can go there now maybe. I just told you what it is. But I'll talk about that more in detail on another day. I don't know about, the due date matters because I got to get these done. I can only do about 6 or 7 a day. And if I'm having these come home to roost on April 28th, that's going to be a busy couple weeks for me. And I don't know what I'll do on this. If you don't hit the due date, will it be an F? No. But that doesn't mean I want to take away the incentive for getting it done. And we have all these stupid teacher tricks. Okay, if you don't get in on the due date, it's 1 day, 1 grade lower for every day that you're late. I want to burn that bridge on another day, not today. It's too nice a day, and I'm too melancholy to think about things that could make me more melancholy, like lateness. Because I said I won't talk about it until Wednesday, your second video of the week is not going to, will be the one that offers phenomena, explanation for a phenomena that I've seen. I don't know about Riverland, but when I got to Brainerd 11 years ago, I can't believe I'm starting my 12th year there in August, if I'm alive. 11 years ago, I went to Brainerd and I said, okay, when you write a research paper, single space, never double, never triple. And everybody's like, okay, fine. And I also said, year 1, keep your fonts consistent. If you choose a 12-point Perpetua, which I think will make you look smarter, it's a beautiful font. I love that one. Just wrote a letter of recommendation yesterday for Lizzie Busher in Perpetua. And if you, I'd say, just in the same way you're going to keep the spacing consistent, keep the fonts consistent, okay? If you pick a 12-point Garamond, a 12-point Perpetua, run that for the whole thing. And then I started something in the drinking water up there. I'd get to the last page, and the student would have done exactly what I asked. Yeah, 12-point the whole paper. And then when they get to the works cited page, suddenly works cited is like 48-point font. I'm like, what is happening? I just told you, kid, keep the fonts consistent. Or I'd get to works cited and it would be in script or blue, some kind of color. And after a while, I just gave in. I gave up in Brainerd. One year I said, okay, that's how I want it. When you get to works cited, just put it in wingdings. Put it in, make it Spanish. Put it in Russian for me. I want it weird. And then driving home one day, I had an epiphany, but you're going to have to wait. I'm going to build suspense. And I'll talk about that when we get together for our second video this week. And that's all I want to say about the research paper today. A little more on topical specificity, and now you got the rubric before you, and you can kind of hold that up against your paper like a prism, or maybe it's a prison, maybe it's both. I want to say a couple things about Othello, and they're relatively simple. It's actually really a simple idea. the greatest stories in literature, and I'm so much happier now talking about literature instead of MLA stuff. It just bores me. It's not my favorite thing. But literature is. Have I told you that I love literature? Poetry? Have I mentioned that? One of the great plots in literature is betrayal. Okay, we would not have literature if we didn't have characters turning on each other, and that's the theme of Othello. It's everywhere. Okay, if you pick up Homer, the Iliad begins with an act of betrayal. You're not even a few lines into that 16,000 line poem, hexameter verse, where I always see it happening on a beach, and I think it does happen by the sea. There's this extraordinary warrior named Achilles, and he's working for this king named Agamemnon, and they're fighting because of an act of betrayal. They're fighting over the hand of a woman, Helen of Troy. Whole war, thousands of dudes die because of one woman. And that whole story begins with Agamemnon saying to Achilles, you know what? That slave girl there, Briseis, she's mine. I'm taking her from you. Achilles just freaks out. He's like, what are you talking about? That's my slave girl. He's humiliated. He doesn't even know how to behave, so he goes and sulks in his tent for the bulk of the Iliad, thus betraying Agamemnon. He comes out at the end after he finds out that his boyfriend, Patroclus, has been killed. And he kills Hector, and I won't go any further into that story, but that's betrayal. That's a story of one character turning on another. The story of the Bible, if you read it, if you care about it, I don't know about the Quran, but I do know that the Bible is full of stories of betrayal. It begins with Lucifer saying, you know what? I will not serve. I'm out of here. And 1/3 of the angels, billions of angels, are swept away with him. He was like number one. Lucifer means light. He was God's favorite. And there they end up consigned to a hell that they create. And pretty quickly you turn a couple of other pages and you got a talking snake of all things. That's about the craziest story I've ever heard. Yet I believe in it. Who talks a woman named Eve into eating an apple? He tells her, you'll be like a god if you take a bite out of that, and she does. And she betrays her husband and gives him the apple, and a few more pages, and you got Cain killing Abel, and that's the Bible. Because it's Lent, for some of us, I think we could say with great certainty that the study of the Passion of Christ is also a story of betrayal. Judas, actually it begins earlier. It begins actually in John chapter 6, verse 66, 666. How does that work? Coincidence? I don't think so. Jesus says something to the crowd and it outrages them, and they say, this is a hard saying, we're out of here. And he's abandoned, and only his 12 dudes are there. And he's betrayed. He's betrayed later when Judas in the Garden of Gethsemane kisses him on the cheek for the 30 pieces of silver, giving him over to the crowd. And Peter's always goofing up and cutting somebody's ear off. And Peter betrays him too later, 3 times in the evening on Friday of that weekend, which we'll be commemorating in a couple, 3 weeks here. So again, I'm pretty interested in motive. And you're about to read a story called Othello, and there's a villain in there, man, and you're going to like him. That's a problem. You're going to like Iago. But here's a curious thing about Iago. I'm not sure why he's evil. I'm not sure what he's up to. With Judas, it gets a little complicated. Most people think, well, he just did it for the money. I think Judas had a lot more going on up there than that. And but Iago, I think he's just evil for the sake of evil. I might go a minute over here. I can see I'm at 29:07. Listen to me. Listen to me on this one, you guys. When I got to Central Lakes College 11 years ago, one of my questions was, can you teach Shakespeare at a community college? The answer is kind of. And I did that for 1 or 2 years. And then I said to myself, if I put on my peg leg and my eye patch and my parrot and go out on the high seas of the internet and grab the audio to all of Shakespeare's plays, 37 of them, and then post up the audio, each scene, what would happen to the comprehension? Bam, it just went through the roof. Yes, it will take more time, but here's what I recommend you do. Take up Othello. if you got the book. If you don't, copyright's up on Shakespeare. Just open up a tab. Yeah, I hit the 30-minute mark, didn't I? And it cut me off. They're already there. They're already there. I put them up there last night. Go to D2L, open up Othello, and just click on those little blue links. And that's what you'll see over the next couple weeks. Scene 1, Scene 2, Scene 3. And you'll see in the subject heading, here's your scene, here are your scenes for Act 2, whatever. You hold the book and you will understand most of it. You're going to hear voices. You're going to hear men and women, professional actors, music, swords clashing, etc. You're going to have sound effects. Sitting and reading Shakespeare silently to yourself is a fool's errand. Don't do it. I'm not saying you're a fool if you do it, but it's just too hard. And you'll have a much more thorough and enjoyable experience in your heart and soul if you do it the way I am suggesting. So, hey, you guys take it easy. Let me get editing and get this down there to you fast. God bless you guys. Love you.